Hey everyone, welcome to Physics 126, the second part of the classical physics three-part program from Stony Brook. I'm going to be the instructor. My name is Mr. Clow. I was actually told that this is probably going to be the very last virtual version class, so I decided to re-record this for all the changes that I've been doing over the years, and I want this first video to really go over, what to expect in this course. So the first part is the fact that Google Classroom is going to be the main hub for this. All my files, my slides, everything has been posted onto Google Classroom. This is actually where you're going to be doing homework. You're going to submit your homework. You're going to submit tests and all that through Google Classroom. I'm not really going to be using Blackboard. I might throw some announcements on there every now and then, mainly because I know that the announcements get emailed to people. But for the most part, everything is going to be through Google Classroom. This is the code, so use that to sign in. Now, all my videos, all my lecture videos are actually pre-recorded. So I actually go through all my lectures on there. They've been posted onto YouTube. Now you can watch them, that's fine. However, in order to deal with attendance, because I need to actually have some sort of registration for Stony Brook that says that you have watched certain videos, and I can't go by, Scout's honor through YouTube. I decided that I want you to set up an Edpuzzle account. This is where you're going to actually watch the videos, and it's going to log how much time you spend in it and your responses, blah, blah, blah. This is only for attendance credit. Don't feel that it's necessary for you to get all the questions correct. You just have to answer the questions. It honestly doesn't matter. You're going to get the same attendance credit whether you get every question right or none of the questions right. This is the class code for it. Now, one thing I do want to actually point out about Edpuzzle is that it's a little finicky. Some people might get concerned because they'll watch a video and it'll say that they'll watch it all the way through and it'll say it is incomplete. The reason it would say that is if you were skipping back and forth. I know some people like to skip back, they want to re-watch a certain part, but for some reason with Edpuzzle, once you skip in any way, they kind of say that it's incomplete. You have to watch it straight through. So if you want to, go back and revisit a section, I recommend pulling it up on YouTube. For now, tests are going to be assigned through Google Classroom. If anything changes, I'll let you guys know. Again, either through Blackboard or Google Classroom, or probably through both. All right. So what's necessary? We're going to be using the textbook. It's the standard one, Physics for Scientists and Engineers, 4th edition by John Coley. I'm pretty sure this is probably the textbook you have from the other physics courses. Now, one thing I do want to point out is that the notes come straight from the textbook. I do, of course, edit it a bit because of the fact that reading that textbook, it can be so dense and weird sounding a lot of times, and it might not make sense right away. So I do try to put my little spin on it. But for the most part, I follow along with the textbook. So it's not like reading the textbook is going to give you extra information or extra insight that you wouldn't have gotten from my videos. However, all the homework questions do come straight from the textbook. Now, with that being said, if you can find a version online of this textbook, or if you can get the questions from someone else, maybe you're taking the course alongside someone, or you have a friend who's in this, and you can, take a few shots of their questions from, each of the chapters. That's fine. That's really the only reason why the textbook is necessary. Otherwise, it would have been optional. And of course, you probably should end up having a scientific calculator. Anything that does trig functions, exponentials. Obviously, if you have a graphing calculator, that's perfect. Nothing crazy. All right. So the topics. This is actually the kind of the odd topic out. The first topic in the 3-course program, 125, is all about mechanics. So it's all about forces and motion and rotations. And then the third topic, the third course, Physics 127, is all E&M stuff, circuitry and all these things. Everything in those two courses makes sense, and they're all related to each other. But for this topic, it's extremely weird. It's like everything else that didn't fit in one of those two sections. So this course is actually covering three distinct subtopics. Um, Technically more like five, but I'm going to end up splitting this course into three parts. So the topics that get covered are static equilibrium, fluid dynamics, simple harmonic motion. Then we go into wave mechanics, thermodynamics, and waves and optics. Now, like I said, I split this course sort of into three parts. There's the static equilibrium, fluid dynamics, simple harmonic motion, wave mechanics. These first four topics are all basically unit one, if you will. Then thermodynamics is going to be unit two, and then wave and optics is going to be unit three. The reason I do that is the way that I have the test set up. I'll have to explain that in a second, but it's related to this. So these are going to be the chapters. 12 to 20 goes all the way from static equilibrium to thermodynamics, and then it skips 32 to 35 for wave and optics. Like I said, these are the important chapters, so if you could find them online, that's perfectly fine with me. Now, the way grading is going to be done, it's going to be posted through Google Classroom. All right, I should have gotten rid of that either. I was going to say Google Classroom or Blackboard. I think I might end up having some grades in Blackboard, so I think that's I probably should have left that in there, mainly because Blackboard allows me to do letter grades, so I actually might be doing a little bit of both. All right. Now, the way that the exams are weighted is going to be as this. The final is going to be 35%. The midterm 1 and 2 are going to be 25%, and the homework is going to be 15%. Now, you may notice next to each one of these, it says part 1 and part 2. Now, because this is still virtual setup, I ended up taking my midterms and splitting them in half so that there is a midterm 1 part 1 and a midterm 1 part 2. So the midterm one covers those first four topics, the static equilibrium, the fluid dynamics, simple harmonic motion, and waves. Now, because I'm splitting in half, part one is going to be focusing on those first two topics, static equilibrium and thermodynamics, static equilibrium and fluid dynamics. And then midterm one, part two is going to occur a week later, and it's going to be focusing on the other two topics, which is simple harmonic motion and waves. Midterm 2 is the thermodynamics section. So part 1 and part 2 are both actually thermodynamics, but they're going to be focusing on the chapters within. So part 1 is going to be like the first two chapters in thermo, and part 2 is going to be the second two chapters from thermo. Same thing with the final. That's going to be dealing with the wave and optics. First part is going to be the first two chapters from wave and optics, and then the second part. The dates for all these exams are actually posted up on the Google Classroom already. So I put on the dates where all the Edpuzzle assignments are due. Basically, each day it would have been a day that we would have met. So like Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. These are there's going to be an Edpuzzle due on each day to kind of signify what we would have went over those days. And then there's going to be an exam once a week. It's actually going to start on not the first Wednesday, but the second Wednesday. There's going to be basically one of the tests every Wednesday until the very final, which will be the last Wednesday and Thursday will be the final dates. So, like I said, you can check it out on Google Classroom to see the schedule. But I just wanted to point that out. As you should know, this is a summer course, so these lectures kind of go really fast. I forgot how long the videos are, but it's pretty much condensing essentially an entire week's within the normal class time, maybe even more, all into just one course section. Like I said, all these videos are pre-recorded. They're uploaded so you can watch them on YouTube, and you have to watch them on Edpuzzle. Yeah, that's actually from when I was in class. Attendance. Oh yeah, so like I said, attendance isn't technically necessary, so it's highly recommended. So I just wanted to point that out that you really should go through the Edpuzzle. Like I said, attendance it's not going to affect your grade at all. I mean, it sort of will in the sense that if you are not watching the videos, then you're going to be unprepared for the exam. If you don't come to the extra help sessions or the virtual meetings, you'll be unprepared. So obviously it's going to affect your grade that way. But I am not going into Edpuzzle seeing who has and hasn't watched the videos. I'm not recording down the names of people who have been coming to my lessons or my office hours, and I'm not going to use that to change your grade. So just want to throw that out there. Attendance does not affect your grade, and so yeah, just watch edit puzzle videos. It's only meant. Well, I do take attendance, and it's only meant for in case someone decides to drop out. I need to let the school know whether or not you have or haven't attended the course. That's really all it's for. For the most part, I'm going to be holding meetings Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I know technically Thursday is one of our meeting days, but I had to move it to Friday. And we're going to be meeting from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Let me know if there's going to be an issue with these. I'm going to consider recording these videos. It really depends on how easy I get to it. I should point out Mondays are going to be a very tough day for me. I have a conflicting schedule, so for the most part, those Mondays we're going to end up I'm going to end up starting a little bit late. I'm going to try to get here by 6:30, uh, but I might end up starting a little bit later. So just throwing that out there. If you sign in right away on Monday and I'm not there, just wait. I will eventually come on. Don't worry. Uh, these meetings are going to be held through Google Meet. There's a meeting code that you can find on Google Classroom. I'll repost it at some point if people are having trouble finding it. And again, like I said, it's not mandatory. During these meetings, I'm not going over the lessons. I should point that out. I'm not like reteaching it. Like I said, I've pre-recorded the videos so you can watch them already. So when you come in those days, I'm not going to be going through the lesson. However, if you have a question, either on the video or about the course or about the homework, I'm perfectly happy answering them. So this is a student driven sort of meeting. I'm basically going to be answering your questions. If you come in without any questions, then I won't really have anything to say. So just wanted to point that out, that this meeting, it's really as useful as you guys put into it. There have been times where the meeting's pretty much completely dead because no one has any questions, and it ends up being almost a waste of time. I just wanted to mention that because I think some people sign on expecting me to teach, but like I said, it's already been pre-recorded. This is more of getting more specific instructions of specific issues that you're having. Like I said, exams, there's a schedule that you can find out about it. Each exam is non-cumulative. I kind of briefly mentioned that each midterm and final covers only the material, the 2 chapters leading up to it. You're allowed a page of notes. Now, obviously, I can't really, you know, keep that set in stone. So that's actually going to be, up to you guys to, stay faithful. One of those types of things. The tests are going to be 60 minutes long, and this is actually the reason why I split up the exams, because I didn't want you guys sitting and having to block out like 2 hours of your time. So instead, you have 60 minutes to complete it, and then you have about 15 minutes to email me work. Now, I should point out that this 60 minutes does include or does take into account any sort of connection issues. So you want to make sure leading up to this that you have your connection set up. Maybe you have your phone hotspot ready to go just in case internet goes out. Have your phone charged. So I really there shouldn't be any issues about not being able to take the test within this window. I just want to point that out. The 60 minutes, the tests were designed for 40 minutes. So I'm actually giving you guys a little bit more time just in case there's some sort of connection issue. And like I said, you have about 15 minutes. There have been times where I had students submit their exams significantly later. You do get a penalty if you submit it in past 15 minutes. Now, I do want to point out I'm not going to nickel and dime you if you submit it 16 minutes later. I'm not going to hit you hard for that. The 15-minute is really just a cutoff for the people who try to submit it in 30 minutes later or an hour later. At that point, you're really pushing it. But for the most part, try to keep it under 15 minutes. Again, the exam was meant for 40 minutes, so 60 minutes is more than enough. Oh, the exam, it's no multiple choice. It's all a kind of free response where questions you have to show your work. I actually have a practice exam already posted. It's pretty much an exam I had given a previous year. So that's going to be for essentially part one and part two midterm. I don't have a practice exam for the midterm two or the final. Just that, so that you have a rough idea of what to expect. Homework is assigned at the end of each PowerPoint. Now, I do want to point out that the PowerPoint videos haven't really been updated because they don't really need to be. So it might say a certain day. Uh, don't go by the PowerPoint videos. Go by what it says in Google Classroom. Google Classroom is the up-to-date one. Typically, you end up having 2 lessons later. So if you have the video was assigned on Monday and was due on Monday, then the homework is going to be due 2 lessons, which will be Thursday. If it was assigned Thursday, then it will be due, since Wednesday is an exam day, it will probably be due the next Thursday. So just keep that in mind. For the most part, these homeworks are going to be due pretty much either Thursday or Mondays. Now, there's going to be 10 questions, and I'm only grading 3. So if you end up not answering those 3 questions, you answer the other 7, doesn't count. Just throwing that out there. I only grade 3. The 3 are the same for everyone. So you want to make sure that you answer every question. None of the homeworks, no late homeworks will be accepted because there's just too much stuff that I need to end up grading. I don't have any TAs. So again, make sure you get those homeworks submitted on time. One thing I do want to point out is that the way the homework questions are set up, like I said, I picked 10 questions from the chapter. One thing I try to do is set it so that the questions from the topics that have the most questions in it tend to be the highest chances of being asked on an exam. So, for example, in the static equilibrium unit, there's a bunch of questions, homework questions from the statics section where you use torques and all that, and you do equilibrium. And then there's one question that deals with stress, strain, and fracture. Now, what that's showing is that most of the points or the highest probability question that you would see on the midterm that's from the statics unit is going to be from that section of the chapter. So I don't want you spending way too much time on the stress and strain and fracture because it's got a, I guess, 10% chance, or it's going to be worth 10% of the overall points. I want you making sure that you understand that the other stuff. So use the homework questions as a way of having an idea of which topics to focus on. The questions the topics that have the most questions are the most likely candidates of what's going to be asked, or at least will be worth the most points. I should also point out that the exams, they're not going to have the questions from the homeworks exactly, but they'll have bits and pieces. So for the most part, it's almost like I'm taking multiple questions and kind of squeezing them together into one overall question. In fact, in the back of the chapter, when you have the question sections, well, you have the problems and the questions. There's a set of questions called general problems or something like that. I think it's usually numbered like in the 80s or something. Those questions are actually very good indicators of kind of what to expect on some of these midterm exams. I just want to point that out because some people think that it's going to look exactly like the level 1 or level 2 questions, and they'll think, oh, the exam's going to be so easy. But they don't realize that that level 2 question is just going to be part B of an entire question. If you have more questions, feel free to let me know during our initial meeting. All right, so some helpful tips. Obviously, best way to learn physics is to do physics. I can't even say how many times people just expect to come into a class, watch a video, or watch me doing physics, sit back and take a passive role. You have to make sure that you actually are physically working along, that you are taking notes in some factor or some way, that you're attempting the questions. If you don't get it right, attempt it again and keep doing it until you get it right. Coming up to me and asking me for help. These are ways that you end up learning physics, just like how you can't just watch someone training for a sport or watch someone exercising and get those same results. You can't just watch me do physics or watch someone else do physics and expect results. This is something you don't need to do, but it's usually nice to try to solve your problems algebraically before you start plugging numbers in. Um, oh, definitely set up study groups with partners. You know, easy enough, but make sure you don't cheat. I can't stress that enough. How much that's definitely not allowed. Make sure you're organized with your stuff, and that's pretty much it. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, good luck and have a great day.